Hey everyone, it is Mary Hyatt and welcome to the Mary Hyatt Show. I am super excited that you are here. I am back. I took a couple weeks off and am super excited to be here. I have a fabulous show prepped and ready for you, and I'm just going to double check on my end technically. Yay, we are running. Everything is good. Okay, that's what we want. Let me just double check all of this. Excited to be here. Okay, perfect. Okay, well, let's get going. You guys, it is officially fall. Can you believe it? It's hard to believe that next week is October. I mean, where has this year gone? It's so nuts, but I have to be honest, I absolutely love the fall. It is my favorite season of all time. And I am waiting patiently for the weather in Nashville to get cool so that I can wear my sweaters and my scarves and have bonfires and pumpkin everything. I mean, who else just absolutely loves the fall? It is my favorite. And then, of course, we have the holidays, but a lot of exciting things are happening through the end of this year. And I want to make sure to mention that to you here in a second. But before we get into everything, let's officially start the show. Hey everyone, it is Mary Hyatt. I, of course, am your show host and I'm super excited to be with you today on episode number 53, the 5 ways to become a bosom friend. I am super excited to hop into today's show because I was just at doTERRA's annual convention that they have in Salt Lake City. And for those of you who aren't very familiar with doTERRA, it's an essential oil company that I am a leader in, and I love to educate people on essential oils, and we just learned so many amazing benefits of these plants and the oils. It was just a powerful, powerful week. But one of the things that got me reflecting with my time there was just seeing all of these women. It was actually 30,000 people at doTERRA's annual convention, and I would venture to guess that probably 95% of them were women. And it was such a fun thing to see all of these different groups of friends, people that have known each other for a long time, family members, people who were making friends for the first time at this convention and sharing knowledge and sharing their passion for helping people and just self-development. And then I saw people who were a little bit lonely, people who were in a position where maybe they came by themselves and they felt a little bit awkward, they looked a little bit awkward, they didn't quite know what their place was yet. And so it got me thinking about how grateful I am for the amazing community of women that I'm in particular my besties, my bosom friends here in Nashville. And I am some person who has gone through a real transition in my friendships, and I'm just so grateful that I have some amazing friendships. And speaking of friendships, I know that I teased this a little bit last time on our show. I said, hey, I've got this workshop coming up in November in Nashville. It's about body awareness, but I didn't really have much more to share with you. Well, I'm excited to share with you that it is now finally official. You can go ahead and join me in Nashville on November 10th. I think I spelled November wrong on that slide, but you guys can give me some grace on that. But November 10th here in Nashville, Tennessee, this is called the Make Peace with Your Body Workshop. You can go to maryhyatt.com/workshop to get all of the details about this day that we're going to spend together. It's 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on a Saturday here in Nashville. And I have just the most beautiful day planned. It's very intimate, and that's why I mentioned it when I talked about friendships. It's only 20 people that are able to participate with me. We have booked the most gorgeous studio environment where there's all this beautiful natural light. It's in the heart of Nashville, lunch is included. And what I've realized in my journey of becoming fully alive, really being able to live in the skin of my most authentic self, is that really the missing link for people is connecting to their bodies. So often, people are in a position where they are doing the therapy, they're doing coaching, they are, moving their body, they are journaling, they're doing all these sort of cognitive exercises and activities. And to me, to heal the wounds that we have, whether that be trauma, whether that just be life circumstances, whether that be trying to break cycles of codependency or feeling awkward in our own bodies or wanting to live a more authentic life, it all starts and originates in the body. Our body is sort of the first place where we process our emotions that give us an insight into how we're experiencing the world. And so to me, our physical sensations are the foundation of our emotional awareness and our overall well-being. So during the time together, we're going to spend 5 hours together. I'm going to help you learn how to connect your body with your mind. I'm going to show you which each area of the body emotionally represents. So when you have ailments come up like headaches or a sore throat or that gut feeling, you're going to understand the messages of your own body and what those sensations are actually telling you. I'm going to give you some amazing tools like breath work and movement to help you connect with your body so that you feel free to laugh and to move and to dance without feeling awkward in your skin, and ultimately come back home to your body and make peace with it. So I hope you will join me November 10th. And I want to make sure that you know that right now we have an early bird special going on. It's only $75 for the entire day. Again, this includes lunch. Now the price will go up on October 20th. So make sure you get over there right now, maryhyatt.com/workshop to grab your spot because it will absolutely sell out. And I'm just super excited about this day. But let's get into the episode for today. Now, you guys know I'm off social media now, and despite being so connected on social media, I've seen this happen where people ultimately are lonelier than they have ever been. And I think that's because it's like simulating a real connection, but it's actually not a real connection. I mean, I would go so far as to say the people who are following you, the people you're following, for the vast majority are going to be quote unquote sort of fake friendships, Instagram friends, Facebook friends. I mean, those aren't going to be the people that you're going to call when you're having a panic attack, or those aren't the kind of people who are going to call you up and ask you to bring them a meal when they have a sweet little baby. It's just not going to happen. They may like a picture, but it's not intimate. It's not real. And I think that there is this desire that people have to belong. And I think that we've sort of forgotten how to do that in our modern day. We really rely on social media to give us that instant gratification, but we're not sitting down with people. We're not having drinks with people for hours and hearing about what's going on in their lives and listening to the pains in their heart. And yet all of us are desiring to be seen, to be heard, to feel important, to feel valued. And it's really tricky. And a lot of the times the people in our lives aren't necessarily the people who are the healthiest. Oftentimes they are people who are pretty darn toxic. And I love this quote by Jim Rohn, and he says, "You are the average of the 5 closest people to you." So take a minute for a second and think about those people. Think about the people that you spend the most time with, the people that you are either following, the people in your real life, the average of the 5 closest people to you. Who are they? How close are you to them? Think about what they do in their lives personally and professionally. Are they ambitious people? Are they successful people? Are they happy people? Are they optimistic people? Are they enthusiastic people? What do they believe? What are their core beliefs about money, about work, about life, about family, about health, about spirituality, about their body? A lot of us have the same friends that we have had for a long time, a group of friends that maybe we've grown up with, maybe we've known since childhood, and maybe you've even made some kind of new friends along the way as an adult that have become more of your community, more of a family for yourself. But the reality is that we are a direct reflection of the people that surround us. And it's inevitable that whoever you're surrounding yourself around will eventually become a mirror for you. You will eventually become like them. And for some of us, this is awesome because the people that we're surrounding ourselves with are freaking amazing people, the people that we aspire to be more like, who are authentic and people who push you and encourage you. And for others, and this was my story a couple years ago, the people that I was surrounding myself with were really detrimental to my growth. Like really just living in toxic patterns, asleep, very unaware of their thoughts and what they were believing and the consequences of what that's happening on their lives. And most of us tolerate and surround ourselves with toxic people. Now, I'm not talking about people who are even necessarily like malicious or rude or hateful, although maybe there are some people like that in your life, maybe some of your family members. I'm sort of looking at toxic people as people who are unmotivated, uninspired, the people who zap your energy and discourage you when you are around them, the people who encourage you to stay stagnant, the people who are holding on to limiting kind of fear-based beliefs or simply never push themselves to become their true, most authentic selves. It's like they have just sort of decided that they don't need to do anything to better themselves. And when I think about that, I'm like, oh my God, that used to be the kinds of people that I was hanging out with, the kinds of people that were not supportive of my growth, the kinds of people who would discourage me from growth and think I was crazy when I was reading a book by Brene Brown or starting to go to yoga class. I was like, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? And my personal belief is that if you are here watching this show, listening to the podcast, you are on some kind of path of growth, some kind of journey of wanting to deeply connect to your soul, to deeply connect with your body. And in order to be able to be the healthiest versions of ourselves, to feel the most fulfilled, to kind of get all of the juice, all of the joy out of life, we have to look at our friendships, the lack thereof, or the toxicity of the ones that we have. And it really is, I think, one of the hardest things that you'll be faced with doing. I got an email actually this week from a follower, from a viewer, who was asking me what I did when I sort of moved from the friends that were toxic into more healthy relationships, because she was at a place where she was recognizing like, oh my gosh, a lot of these friendships that I have are really toxic. And I know that most of us don't want to rock the boat. We never want to come across that we are better than somebody else, but it's a must. Like, we have to evaluate our friendships. And if you aren't able at some point, it's a process, it's a journey, but if you aren't able to sort of move past some of these toxic relationships, unhealthy friendships, you're going to be limiting your life and your ability to be your best, most healthiest self. And it's going to allow you to stay stunted in your growth. And ultimately, you're going to have to kind of self-sabotage yourself so that you stay small for these people. You have to either stay poor, you have to be in a body that you don't enjoy being in, you have to be gossiping, you have to be in a cycle of drama in order to exist with the kinds of friendships that are around you. And my heart, because I know what that is like, and I've gone to a place now where I have these most amazing relationships, my heart is like, oh, I want you to experience what it's like to have people in your life who are cheering you on, who are supporting you, who are not walking around with a measuring stick or trying to pull you down into the bucket and make you play small. I had to learn this lesson really, really hard a couple years ago. And I looked around and I looked at the 5 closest people to me, and I realized that they were very toxic. They were just not investing in their own growth, and they were in cycles that were really unhealthy and had been in these cycles for over decades. And it was one of the most heartbreaking experiences because these people in my life, these friends of mine, were like family. It was devastating to move from a space of spending all this time with them and living life with these people. And I have to be honest, what happened is that it resulted in a season of really deep loneliness for me, a time of grief, a time of longing for close relationships that I really had never experienced in my life and certainly didn't have in the present. And I had to sort of grapple with that and choose to be intentional with the kinds of people that I was surrounding myself with. And I'll be honest, it was the best decision. Looking back, it was the best, bravest, most courageous act that I had done in a long time. And now I opened that space up to receive the dearest, most truest, most authentic, kind-hearted women in my circle that have been life-changing, that have become a sisterhood to me. Friends that I've now had for several years, friends that have been through the divorce with me, friends who have held my hand and rubbed my hair when I was having panic attacks, friends that I can call at any moment's notice, and they are there for me in a deep, powerful way. And I want you to have that as well. And that change that happens when you have a community around you is rapid. It is abundant. The growth is expansive, and you get to do it with people who are like-minded, which is really powerful. So my desire for you is to evaluate your friendships, and then I'm going to give you today 6 tips for finding new friends, and then I'm going to talk about later in the show 5 ways to be a bosom friend, because it is about how you're showing up as a friend as much as it is looking for people who are going to support you in your life. So before we hop into that, let's talk about my 6 tips for finding new friends, because my guess is whether you have friends that you need to move from, or simply you're in a space kind of like I was where you were really lonely, you're kind of in a state of wanting these friendships and you're not sure where to go, we need to look at, okay, so what do we do? How do we actually find these friends? Now, my first tip is a simple one. And this is a exercise in honesty, taking sort of inventory of your life. And it's to make a list of 5 people to reduce time with in your life. All right, so what this looks like is sort of looking around and going, are there people, and maybe it's not 5 people, maybe it's just 1 person, but looking around and evaluating, saying, are there people in my life who are zapping my energy, who are draining me, who are these toxic individuals? And it could be family, and it could be friends, it could be acquaintances that I need to sort of reduce my time with. Who are these people? This takes time. It takes a lot of sort of bravery to admit that these people just aren't healthy and they are not creating an environment for my best life, for my best self, and kind of slowly having conversations if you need to, slowly drawing boundaries of space and time, the amount of time that you're spending with them. Sometimes you need to have a conversation. Sometimes it's just better to gradually create distance as you move into a different space. And, you know, that's kind of the first step. The first tip to bring in some new friends is you sort of have to address and deal with the friendships that you have now. So we want to make a list of up to 5 people that you need to reduce your time that you're spending with them. Now, the second tip number 2, is to make a list of new people that you want to be friends with. So this is kind of fun because this gives you the ability to think about the types of people that you would want to surround yourself with. What are their qualities? What are they doing? What do they care about? What are their beliefs? And you might know people already within your circle that you've been observing. Maybe you're an acquaintance, maybe you're not super close yet, and you're like, yes, that is the kind of person that I would want to be friends with. I really like her. What I've observed from her is somebody that I would want to surround myself with. List out those attributes of the person. See if there are people that you either know yet, and if you don't, you can kind of almost sort of like write out what it is that you would want in a friendship. What would you want? Who would they be? How would they show up with you? Write down the names of those people, because that's kind of the first step in giving sort of a message, opening yourself up to saying, hey, I'm willing to receive new friendships. I want to call that into my life. I want to be intentional about the people that I am pursuing to spend this kind of time with me. Now, the third tip is kind of get out of your comfort zone sort of one, but it's so necessary. And this is to find your people. This is where you're going to want to seek out groups or clubs or activities where those people hang out. I knew that for me, I am a woman who loves to achieve. I am somebody who is constantly pushing myself in my self-development, in my self-growth, in my self-care, in my business. Like I always say to people, I'm just getting warmed up. I'm only starting. I have so much that I want to do in this life. And I started to go to conferences where I thought the kinds of people that could continue to challenge me in that growth would be. So I started going to Tony Robbins conferences. I started going to a speaking conference. I went to different workshops where people were talking about different elements of self-growth, different elements of loving and respecting your body. I mean, these were the kinds of people, the kinds of communities that I wanted to be a part of. And I will tell you, 2 of my dearest friends are people that I met at a conference. One of them doesn't live here. One of them is about to move away, but I met them at conferences with a similar interest. It's like, where are the kinds of people that I want to become friends with? You got to find your people. You might read the kinds of blogs that they're reading. You might read the kinds of books that they're reading. Project out, okay, this is what I want. This is where I'm going to find my people, and they will begin to come to you. You'll get to meet these like-minded people. You're not going to meet them in your house watching a movie. You're not going to meet them necessarily by yourself at a coffee shop. You're not going to necessarily meet them taking your kids to school, although you might. But chances are they're going to be in places that are areas that they have an interest in that you also have an interest in. So find your people. That's tip number 3. Now, tip number 4, and this is kind of a funny one, but is to date these new friends. When you've lost a support network, you may feel a little bit desperate for friends. And I know that I 100% did. I remember feeling so lonely. If I went out to dinner, this is kind of a funny story. I remember I went out to this one restaurant, and there was our server, and I thought, well, this is a cool girl. I kind of like her. And I was like determined to make this girl my friend. And I became so desperate. I'm sure I put off like the weirdest energy because I was like, please be friends with me. Like I really, really could have taken anybody at that point. If anybody had said to me like, hey, I want to be friends with you, and I'm like, great, let's go out to coffee, let's do this. And I put off all this desperate energy. But the reality is you don't want to go to bed with just anybody, right? I mean, the truth is you want to date potential friends. Find out from the beginning, taking your time, if they are takers, if they are drainers, if they are destroyers, if they are sabotagers. Ask kind of the right questions from the beginning and see what motivates them. See what they care about. See what they value. Get curious about their life. And a little bit, I mean, obviously it's like chemistry, of course, you got to have the chemistry, but then you also want to look at their lives, because if you are used to toxic friends, the last thing you want to do is bring more toxic people into your life. And so it's a little bit like dating, you kind of want to interview them at the beginning and just see if they're the kinds of people who value self-growth, who value this concept of living their best life, and they're doing things actively to create it. It's like, okay, cool, you've passed sort of the first test. Let's take this further before you dive in out of desperation and realize, oh my gosh, this is just more of the same. Now, to build on that, tip number 5 is to cultivate authenticity from the beginning. I obviously am a massive fan of authenticity. I feel like that is the best way to intimately connect with people. And in order for you to not slip into your old patterns, I just want to encourage you to be authentic from the get-go. Share your true, real self from the beginning. Share your path of growth, share your path of change. As you get closer and closer, you can get a little bit more vulnerable sometimes and share a little bit of your struggles. You don't have to do that right away. I think it's important to kind of feel it out and build that kind of level of trust. You don't want to just be telling anybody and everybody your deepest, darkest struggles and fears and doubts and all of that. But you can be authentic. You can show up as your real self. And the temptation, just sort of sometimes like it is when you date, is to sort of like put on your best self, wear your best clothes, act like your life is perfect, sort of fake it. But that's not going to give you the kinds of friendships that you're really after. If you're really after somebody seeing you, hearing you, valuing you, you have to show up as your true self. Don't edit. Be you, with excitement, with passion, whatever that looks like. Be you. It's such an important tip. Now, the last tip to find new friends is to be open. Now, this was something that was really challenging for me because, again, I kind of had in my mind the sort of types of friends that I would have. And in my brain, they were like, really, really rich people who just had their entire lives figured out. And the reality is that your new friends may not look like, they might not dress like, they may not talk like your old friends. Be open to finding true soul sisters and brothers in new places, in different kinds of faces, in the kinds of people that you may never have expected to be the kinds of people that you connect so deeply with. They may be older, they may be younger, they may live in a different state than you do. There's so many different variations. So stay open. Be open to it looking different than what you might think it looks like or should look like. So be open. That is tip number 6. And the reality is that change is necessary for growth. Change is necessary for growth. I encourage you not to shy away from this, even though it is hard. You are not a mean person. You are not a selfish person. If you need to move away from some friends in your life, remember that those people have been there for a season. You can honor that. You can be grateful for that. You can thank them for that, for the time that you spent together, for the memories that you've created with these friends. But the reality is there's some kind of disconnect where it's not resonating for you, and certainly it's not helping you shine brightly. And so we have to sort of make peace with the fact that there are cycles and seasons sometimes to the people in our lives. that they are here as our teacher. They are here as somebody who is our ally and confidant at the time. And as we grow, as we shift, as we move forward on this journey, that might also shift as well. And so I hope that you will surround yourself with people who inspire you, because your environment impacts every decision that you make. Choose the kinds of friends that when you leave their presence, you feel so invigorated, so alive, so grateful, so inspired. Because the truth is, you deserve to be around people and environments that support your best self and your best life. You can have these kinds of friendships, but you have to be intentional about it. You have to seek these kinds of people out. You have to up-level your friendships. You have to move from where you are to where you want to be. So let's shift for just a second. We're going to talk about the 5 ways to be a bosom friend. Now, I know that's kind of a strange word, bosom, and you're like, what the heck are you talking about, Mary? Maybe you've never heard of the term bosom friend. However, if you have had the privilege of growing up and watching the series Anne of Green Gables, which they just released a new series on Netflix, but I watched the old ones as a little girl. I mean, over and over and over and over again. And that is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Anne with an E, Anne of Green Gables, and Diana Barry and their friendship. Oh my God, you guys. And Anne says this: a bosom friend, an intimate friend, you know, a really kindred spirit to whom I can confide my innermost soul. I've dreamed of meeting her all my life. Oh my gosh. I just love Anne. She's just so heartfelt. And this is what we're talking about. A bosom friend is a rare, kindred spirit that you confide your soul with. It's your person. It's the person that you seek out when things are going amazingly well. And it's also the only one that you feel safe enough calling in your darkest days. It's the person that you maybe have felt like you've known your whole life. And sometimes it's the person that you've had the longest history with. But the bosom friend is that special connection that you have with just a few people. And I think oftentimes the illusion is that, you know, I think because of social media, that we're supposed to have this whole group of friends and we're supposed to go on girls' trips together and all these different things. And I think it was maybe Brene Brown that talked about this. And it was really helpful for me. She says something to the effect of like, okay, we think we're supposed to have this posse of friends, but in reality, we're really lucky if we have 1 or 2 or 3 really close friends, bosom friends, I'll add to that. And so this isn't going to be necessarily a whole host of friends that you're this close with everywhere. You know, you sort of have a circle of friends. You have the innermost circle, you have an outer ring and a really far outreach, acquaintance ring. So you've got your bosom friends and you maybe have some closer friends, and then you've got your acquaintances. And that's okay. We're not going to have 10, 15, 20 bosom friends. We're just going to have a couple. But those are the kinds of people that you walk through life with, that you get through the hardest times with. So I want to share with you how you can show up and be a bosom friend so that you have a connection, a friendship that doesn't feel forced, that it feels like there is this resonance, this deep connection, this energetic bond with these other lovely ladies in your life that is just so, so precious. And my belief is that it starts with us. We get to demonstrate to the people who've sort of earned that role in our life what it looks like to be a bosom friend. So I want to sort of share with you my 5 ways to be a bosom friend. And this is something you can also look for in these friendships that you're making. Are they the kind of bosom friend that you are wanting? Now, the first way, and even maybe the first criteria we could even say of being a bosom friend, is reliability. Now, this is paramount. This is foundational. And it's really simple. Reliability. When you say that you are going to be somewhere, you are going to be there. And I know that I can count on you and you can count on me. When you say that you're going to show up, you show up. You are that friend. You are the kind of person that is there when the baby is born. You're the person who is there when the person is sick. When you say, yeah, I'm going to come to that, you go to that. You show up. All right, so the second way to be a bosom friend, and let me just get this going here, is to be the vault. Now, this is where everything in your relationship with this person is held in the strictest confidentiality. This is where nothing gets shared outside of your time together. And I know that this is really, really rare, but no matter what, you are the vault. No matter what your friend tells you, no matter what you tell them, they aren't going to be sharing with anybody else. You know that this person is safe. You know that this person has your back, and you know that they can share anything with you and you're not going to say it. You're not going to go to your friend or your spouse or whomever and share what they shared, that you are the vault. This to me is a rare slice of integrity that I think our modern day society is really missing. The vault. You know, we want to use other people's drama for our own gain. We want to expose a lot of those things because it makes us look like we have this story to tell. And so my encouragement for you is, if you are going to be a bosom friend, you choose, even when you don't want to, even when it would be great to share with either other people, even when it's like, oh my gosh, like taboo information, that you remain the vault. All right. The third way to be a bosom friend is to listen with empathy. There is a big difference between sympathy and empathy. Now, Brene Brown explains this really well. She's so funny, by the way. I just love her. She says, okay, so sympathy is when somebody shares something with you, you look at them and you say, I feel so sorry for you. Whereas empathy says, I get it. I feel with you. And girl, I have been there. I know you're hurting. I can feel your pain. Where you sit in it with them. And Brene says, if you want to see a shame cyclone turn deadly, throw one of these at it. Oh, you poor thing. Or the incredibly passive aggressive Southern version of sympathy, which is, bless your heart. Bless your heart. That is not being a bosom friend. That is being somebody who isn't understanding, who isn't compassionate, and doesn't have empathy. Sympathy and empathy are very, very different. Empathy is about being able to truly listen and hold the space for someone without having to fix it, without holding on to silent judgment, without an agenda of trying to fix that person. But it's truly being present for your friend without adding any kind of shame to the situation. They shouldn't feel that way, or that they did something wrong, or that they deserve it. But you allow your friend to be exactly where they are in this moment, even if that looks like them crying on the couch, a heaping mess. And my kind of external demonstration of empathy would be going, hang on, girl, pouring them a glass of wine, handing them the box of tissues, leaving your phone in the other room, and just sitting down to listen with empathy. That is a bosom friend. Now, the fourth way to be a bosom friend is to believe the best. Being able to look at your friend and knowing, even when they are making bad decisions or doing things that you know are not serving their highest good, that you believe the best in them. You believe in their capability, their capacity to find their own solution, their resourcefulness, that you sort of hold for them their best version of themselves. That when you look at them, despite where they are and the decisions that they're making, that you believe the best in them. Imagine if somebody were to be able to do that for you. And despite what's going on in your life, they operate out of a space of non-judgment. They are able to look at you with love, and you as a friend, as a bosom friend in that situation, you're going to hold the vision for them when they can't hold it for themselves. That there's no expectations that they need to hurry up and get over it or whatever, but you believe and know that they are doing the absolute best that they can do. And you remind them of who that person is. You remind them of their best self. You remind them how worthy they are of love and belonging. You remind them how valued they are, how accepted they are, how they are truly lovable and they cannot earn that, they cannot lose that. And you just hold that space to believe the best in them. That is a true bosom friend. Now, the last and final way to be a bosom friend, and this is kind of an interesting one, but I really think this is necessary when you have a rich, true friendship, is to challenge them. Now, I do not let my friends talk ill of themselves or project negativity over their lives. And let's be honest, we all kind of have that story, the victim story, that nothing ever goes right. I'm always going to struggle. Life is really hard. Bad things are always going to happen. I'm always going to be poor. I'm always going to be struggling. I'm ugly. I'm gross. I'll never have a great relationship. Whatever the story is, or I'll never have a great relationship with my parents or my kids. And that cycle of shame. And so the minute that I hear my friends in that cycle of limiting beliefs, affirming that they are the victim, affirming to themselves out loud as they're telling me something, that their lives are horrible, that they'll always be alone, that they're always going to feel gross in their bodies, I sort of lovingly challenge them. I hit the pause button and I'm like, sort of with their permission, like, hey, can I push back on that? Or can I challenge you on that for a second? Or can I reflect something back to you that I'm seeing? And this is important, to not attach yourself to the result when you challenge them, because they may not be willing to move out of their victim story in that exact moment. So you can't attach yourself. The agenda can't be to fix them. Your agenda, if anything, is sort of just to be a mirror and say, hey, do you hear yourself? Do you hear what you're saying? Do you hear what you're affirming? Do you hear what you're choosing to believe? And I challenge them, and I want to show them something different. I want to help give them a different perspective. And so for me, I want to offer them a different way of looking at the situation. And so for me, that looks like saying, like, here's what I hear you saying. I hear you're saying, you're never going to be happy, that you're whatever, that you're always going to be lonely, that your business is never going to succeed, that it's always going to be struggling. And I just want to challenge you, because what if that wasn't true? What if it could be easy? What if this is just part of the bigger story? What if the best is just right around the corner? What if everything was working together for your good? What if? What if this story that you're believing, this victim story, isn't true, but in reality, there's another story present that is saying that only the best is going to happen in your life. That even when things are challenging and things are tough, there is a reason for it. And that you are going to have everything that you desire in your heart, that it's already on its way. It's all being orchestrated behind the scenes on your behalf. Being able to hold that space and challenge their limiting view and offering them another way of looking at the situation. That to me is a bosom friend. It's being brave enough and trusting the sacredness of the friendship enough to challenge them in a loving way. And so those are the 5 ways to be reliable, to be the vault, to listen with empathy, to believe the best in your friend, and lastly, to challenge them. That is going to allow you to be a true bosom friend. The kinds of friendships that you are going to be so grateful for, the kinds of friendships that are going to get you through those really challenging, hard times in your life, the kinds of friendships that are going to be there at your happiest, most joyous, most celebratory moments. A bosom friend is such a gem, and I am so grateful in my life for my sweet bosom friends. And I remind them often of, what a godsend they have been to me. Hold on to those people in your life. Cherish them. Create the space for them to be their most authentic selves. Shower them with love. Shower them with acceptance at every turn, and allow yourself to keep showing up authentically in that relationship as well, because these friends are a true gift. Now, I'm going to end with this quote by Brené Brown, and she says, "Connection is the energy that is created between 2 people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment." That is a true friend. That is true connection. That is a bosom friend. So I hope that after today's show, you feel encouraged to evaluate your friendships, to see who you need to reduce spending some time with, and start dreaming about the kinds of friends that you want to call into your life, making space for them, and ultimately showing up as yourself authentically. Being able to be that kind of friend that you truly desire. Because when you have people alongside of you, linked arm in arm, walking through this journey, not only does it make it bearable, not only does it make it possible to get through some of those hard times, it makes it fun. It brings the joy back into your life when you get to share it with those people. So guys, thank you so much for being part of the Mary Hyatt Show today. I'm excited to be with you again. And of course, I want to make sure to remember again, go to maryhyatt.com/workshop to join me in Nashville, November 10th at the Make Peace with Your Body workshop, where we're going to spend all day together from 10 until 3 with a limited, intimate group of potentially your new best bosom friends. And I really would love to spend that kind of quality time with you. So I will see you then, and we will talk soon. Bye-bye.